Okay, welcome friends. So in continuation of our journey of understanding the services marketing, right now we are there in the unit 2. During my last we have discussed you know the some concepts of this unit 2. We try to they discuss the relationship marketing in services. Of course it is valuable there in for all the type of the marketing. Then we'll try to see what are the strategies and how you can retain your customers in this today's video. And apart from that, the well-known the concept, that is segmentation. You all have studied in the first semester marketing subject, so we'll just refresh the subjects what you have learned. As you know that relationship is required in today's markets, right? It's a kind of philosophy, whether you are selling the product or you are selling the services. You can just go through the slide, right? It's a philosophy of doing business, a strategic orientation that focuses on keeping current customers and improving the relationships with them. It's usually very cheap and the better strategy to retain the existing customers, right? How can I keep my customers intact with my company and develop the loyalty among the customers so that I may not lose, the many customers, right? So losing is inevitable. Maybe if the what percentage of the customers going out of your service delivery system, that makes sense and that matters. As long as possible today, right? All the firms are, they're trying to retain the existing customers in order to enhance the customer relationship. I think we all know this bucket theory. You can look at the bucket. Bucket has a holes. Those holes are the lost customers, right? Or maybe it's decreased. The some customers have decreased their buying from your company. It's very simple, right? When you fill a bucket with the water, if the holes are there in the bucket, so water starts moving out, and you need to fill in more and more water to maintain the constant level of the water in the bucket, right? That's very much applies to relationship marketing, right? So you have the lost the customers are moving out of your service delivery system. That means you need to bring the new customer, right? Or you have to make some of the some segment of the existing customers to buy more. This is just a the gigantic task, right? So that's the reason we say the attracting new customers is much more costlier than retaining the existing customers. I think you might be remembering in my earlier videos, I said it's like the known devil is better than unknown angel, right? Existing customers are known devils. I know the devil, right? I know it. I know what it does, what it wants, what it expects, and maybe I do give what it expects and what it wants and have a better relationships with the devil rather than unknown angel, rather than searching for the angel who is good, and we don't know really how far it is good, what is that and all. So this bucket theory clearly tells us how important is this relationship marketing in services, right? So you need to pour in, right? You need to, if the more and more customers are living out of your, the company, you need to put in a lot and lot of efforts in bringing the new customers. It might be any form, right? Advertisements, promotions, CRMs, right? Everything you need to make it attract, then make them to be happy, then retain, right? So it's not that he customer will come to my service firm and they will retain with us forever. It's very difficult, right? So that's why this bucket theory clearly explains, right? Those holes, try to reduce it, try to reduce it, and try to retain the existing customers by providing or making them happy or even better, making them delight. That's the the crucial part of the relationship. So then, when we look in how basically the relationship, customer relationship, has taken an evolution. So there are three stages how you can build the customer relationships with your customers, right? So basically, the customers enter our service firm as strangers, then slowly they become acquainted with the company, then later stages they might act as a partners here, right? So this is how this starts, and the company has to focus, right? The strangers are those customers who are not aware of, or perhaps those who have not yet had any transactions with the firm, right? At the industry level, strangers may be conceptualized as the customers who have not yet entered the market. At the firm level, they may include the customers of competitors. Clearly, the firm has no relationship with the customers at this point of time, where the customers are the strangers. And consequently, the firm's primary goal with these potential customers is to attract them and to initiate the communication with them. How can you make them to be aware of your service, and how can you develop an attractiveness in them, right? So first an awareness, then attract them, then the customer might think of availing your services, and they might be they entering your services. And once we made them aware, and they created the interest and familiarization with the product that you are offering, right? Then the customer will slowly become the acquainted with your the services. Fine. So here we are creating the basis for exchange relationship. A primary goal for the firm at this stage is the relationship is satisfying the customer who has come to your firm with whatever the attractions that you have given and whatever the things that he has in his mind. So our basic goal or the objective is to make them satisfied, make them happy, right at the first time, right? So in this stage, firms are generally concerned about providing the value proposition to the customers that is comparable with that of the competitors, right? And for the customers, an acquaintanceship is effective as long as customer is relatively satisfied, and that is being received. What is being received in this exchange is perceived as a fair value, right? With the repetitive interactions, the customer gains the experience, and they will become more and more familiar with your offerings, and they will become they directly or involved with your service, the delivery system. It might be maybe where you are providing unique offerings to them, so where come they might come and enter into your service delivery system. Fine. So here what happens, right? This transition from acquaintanceship to friendship, right? So first they will acquaint, then slowly they will be with the repeated interactions. They might try to develop this friendship kind of an environment, particularly in service exchange relationships. Requires the development of the trust. As you know, the basic characteristics of the services, right? It's intangible, cannot be produced and stored, right? So we require this, right? Once we develop the trust, or developing the trust is the most the crucial factor, right? So then here the primary goal for the firms at this stage of relationship is the customer retention. Given their likelihood of past satisfying experiences and the repeated purchases, these customers, like your friends, are more likely to appreciate the firm's service and are perhaps more open to the other related services of the firm. Right? Here, the firm has all the potential to develop sustainable competitive advantage through friends should be higher than for the acquaintances, because the offering is more unique and the customer comes to trust with that uniqueness, right? So by this time the customers will be passing the two stages, right? They enter as strangers, then slowly they will be acquainting with the system, and they become our friends. Then comes customer as a partners here, right? As customers interact, continues to interact with the firm, the level of the trust, it often depends, and the customer may receive more customized products, offerings, and the interactions from the company. The trust developed in the friendship stage is necessary but not sufficient condition for the firm customer to develop a partnership kind of an the relationship. That is, the creation of the trust leads to creation of the commitment, and that is the condition necessary for customer to extend their time for the perspective of the relationship. Right, the deepening of this trust and the establishment of the commitment reduces the customer needs to solve the problems, right? In the traditional sense, what we say that finding a better alternative, right? So here the customer moves from the friendship to partnership, right? This is how basically the relationship develops, where how the companies can retain the customer, right? So basically we need to they attract, we need to make them happy. Then after they happy, they might think of continuing the repeated transactions. When the repeated transactions happens, customer knows company better, company knows customer better. This will lead to the building of a trust and the confidence in the customer about the service offerings of the company. Then slowly we can move towards building that partnership kind of an environment among the customers, right? So here we can look at the some of the benefits. It's not only the customers who are benefiting here, it is both the customers and the firms both are they benefiting from the relationship marketing, right? It's a win-win situation where both will be happy. Company will have known loyal customers, and the customers will receive better services from the company, right? That's what has been listed in the slide. I think you can go through that. Might be the customer will receive a greater value. Maybe the confidence benefits what they get is the trust, right? Confidence in the service provider, and anxiety will be reduced, right? So that's very important, right? Maybe the customers might be very busy today, they don't want the any kind of the anxiety. Might be there are there are social benefits also are there. Familiarity, then you'll get a social support and have the personal relationships with the company. Then maybe we might have observed in certain services you have some special treatments. I might get a special deals, special the packages, or might be the price breaks. And for the company, since the company knows this many minimum number of the customers will be there with us, they will get an economic benefits in the form of increased revenues, as I was discussing in bucket theory, reduced marketing and administrative costs, and company will find the regular revenue streams. Apart from economic benefits, the company will also get the consumer behavior benefits in the form of the strong word of mouth, where the happy, loyal, satisfied customer will provide to the company, and customer will be involved, because at this point of time customer will be having an impression that this company is mine, ये अपना company है, this is my company, right? This is my kind of a service. So that makes them to perform voluntarily and contribute to the company, right? And they may bring the other customers also with the word of mouth, or they will act as a mentors to the other customers. How many times have we all have done this, You can just rethink, right? Even if I avail some services in one firm, might be if I'm very happy and very much satisfied, definitely I can become a mentor to my friends, relatives, or whoever it is, right? So I'm happy with particular services. You might say, oh, that's a very good service. You can go there. Oh, the service both अच्छा है उसका. Or those outlet, that outlet is good. Both अच्छा service देते हैं, right? Or I'm a guide. But the fellow customers, key, which is right, which is wrong, right? And that also makes the company to have a better, human resource management, right? So employees' job will be much easier because the customers are involved, and they trust you. They have a confidence in you, right? Then the employees will be very happy they're performing their jobs, and they'll also get the social benefits for the employees. And obviously, the most important one is, company can retain the employees. You will find, the turnover rate is, very, very less. So why can't we do this? Why can't the company can do this, right? So that's where you find it today. Majority of the companies, they believe in retaining the existing customers or the CRM. Everywhere you might have heard this buzzword maybe a bit long, bit long ago, right? But the CRM makes the difference for any service firms. Okay, this I think you can do this loyalty exercise. Think of any service provider, right? And what do you do that indicates that you are loyal? Maybe your behaviors, actions, feelings, your involvement with the service provider. And ask yourself, why is that I'm loyal to this service provider? And maybe at the same time, you can think of what are the factors that have influenced the formation of your loyalty. This is the better exercise, right? So what you can try it out for checking the loyalty. Okay, these are some of the retention, the strategies for building the customer relationships. We'll discuss this. I have a figure for you to show, right? So first thing is you will monitor or they make a bonding of the strategies. There are so many things, right? Financial bonding, social bonding, structural bondings that you can do. We'll see that later. Then maybe in the later stages you can have the customization bonds, right? So maybe you can retain the customers when the things go wrong, and track and anticipate the recovery opportunities for the customers. And this is very important. And empower the frontline executives to take care of customer problems on the front line. Do not make them to elevate the dissatisfaction of the customers. This is very crucial, right? So front-end employees are always crucial because, as I have been telling, they are the bond spanners. They are the link between the company and the customers, right? So empower them in order to motivate and to deliver the better services. You need to empower. But when we say it's empowering, the management has to decide to what extent I can empower these front-end executives, right? So that's also important. Considering the pros and cons, I think we can have this strategy be adopted here. Now, that's the question, right? Because retention strategies will have little long-term success unless the firm has a solid base of service quality and customer satisfactions on which it is being built. The firm does not necessarily have to be in the very best among its competitors or world class in terms of quality and customer satisfaction. It must be competitive, but however, frequently better than that. All the retention strategies that we describe here, I have discussing with you, right, based on the assumptions of competitive quality and value is being offered, right? So maybe the firms clearly feel that where I can they retain the customers. So this retention initially starts with the two concepts that you see there on the slide. One we call it as a customer inertia. Second one is the switching cost. Customer himself, again, it's two components. Again, the customer and the company, both are they involved in this process, right? So this is what we call the switching barriers, right? So when considering a switch in the service providers, customer may face number of barriers that make it difficult to leave one service provider and begin relationship with other. That's what you can see there. That's what you can see there in the slide. 2 points, right? So it suggests that the customer barriers always influence the decisions to exist from the relationships with the firm. Right? It will help, right? Customer himself is helping himself to be there in the service, delivery system, or to be there associated with the certain service providers. That's what we call the customer inertia, right? Because customer might commit developing relationships with the firms, is that the certain amount of effort required to change the firms. Sometimes customers, may say that it is not just worth it, right? It's an inertia or a resistance. May even explain why some dissatisfied customers stay with the provider, even though if you are not fully satisfied or you are dissatisfied with the service, but still you stay with the company because of this inertia. I'll just give you one example, right? Say for example here, assume that you have got one particular network for your mobile connection. Say for example, Geo. You paid some 399, 499, or 599, whatever it is, and you have they taken it. Then might be after the 1 month of the subscription, maybe assume that you are taken for 60 days or 90 days. After some time, after a few days, maybe say 30 days and all, you feel like you are not happy with the company. Then what do you do? Then I search for other, the service providers like Airtel, Vodafone, whatever it is, right? Maybe I just, they search in the internet. Maybe I just go through the company brochures, or maybe I interact with my friends, relatives. Everything that happens, the search process happens to switch over for, the other services. Then at this time, right, you have noticed there is nothing much difference. That means it's not just worth it. सभी ऐसा है right? Maybe you might conclude at the end saying that the network connection, for example Geo, whatever you have taken, उतना अच्छा नहीं कि इतना बुरा भी नहीं है कि मैं change करूं. Hope you are all understanding, right? Geo network is not that good, but it is not that worst कि I can change it to some other network. That's what the meaning, what you say, the customer inertia here, where we say that it's not just worth it. Right? And along with that, this switching, whenever the customer want to switch the services, there is a switching cost. Switching cost in terms of effort, that you need to search for different the networks, prices, so many plans are there, search which is good, which is not good, what is better, so many things. Then of course you will be investing money in that again. Then might be obviously the time will go forever, right? So this makes us, basically to the customers to think twice when they are switching from one service to another service, and this might be the first, the block towards the company. The company can literally use this to make their customer more satisfied and retain them with them. Maybe Geo can put an effort in this direction, right? When they know that the customers are not happy, but still they are continuing, you can use the switching barrier as a first step towards retaining the customers. That I can put all the efforts. Might be if you assume that okay, after 80 days, maybe near maybe 70 days, if you feel that the network service has been improved, maybe you may not change this. Maybe I'm not going for the other service provider. I'll continue with the Geo network only, right? So this really helps, right, the customers to retain, and has an advantage, for the company to make them with us. Whatever the reasons, if the customer stays with the company, These things, they makes the difference here. You can just see those things in the slide. The different levels of retention strategies for the customers, right? So it all starts with the financial bonds, as we say that customer starts as a stranger. How do we attract them? So we attract them with the financial bonds. Either I might give volume and frequency rewards for them, right? So you buy more and get more benefits, or you buy frequently and get more benefits, or I can give the stable pricing, or I can give the the bundling and cross selling. These are all the things, right? Initially, because I need to attract the customers here. How can I attract? I can attract them with the financial bonds, basically, right? Maybe the customer might say that, okay, let me try this, right? There are offers, there are discounts, there are, the price bundling. If I buy this, okay, I might get this. Okay, if I book this, I will get that also. If I book airline, okay, I'll get a taxi service also. If I book airline, I'll get a hotel service also. If I book airline, I'll get a restaurant service also, like that, right? So the customer enters there from the stranger stage to the customer, to the service delivery system. And the first stage is that I develop the financial bonds. And once that's what we say, the customer happy with your service. That's what we are discussing. The stranger is slowly becoming a friend, right? Repeated interactions happens, and he knows that it's better choice what I have made. Then slowly you can turn it for the social bonds. Slowly you can make it come to the the second level of the customer retention, the strategies, right? You can just do that with the continuous the relationship, right? But here in this stage, even though the price is still assumed to be very important, right? Level 2 here, retention, right? Here the marketer has to build long term relationships through social and interpersonal as well as the financial bonds. Customer here viewed as a clients, not like nameless faces like what we find it in the strangers, what we find it in the financial first level of the relationship, the financial bonds, right? So wine become individuals for the company whose needs and wants the firm seeks to understand through the social bonds, right? Maybe you find it certain professional services, right? So where the social bonds are very much common. Take for example lawyers, accountants, teachers, doctors with their clients. Or maybe you assume a doctor, right, who studies your case history before attending you, how you really feel it, rather than having the financial bonds. You'll really delight it and you like it really, right? Or a consultant who knows your family background, or he studies your occupation, family interest, and there's so many things, right? So this way, I try to develop as a customer these social bonds. And here, interpersonal bonds are also common in B2B relationships here, right? Not much you find it in B2C. Here, where the customer develop the relationships with the salespeople or the relationship managers working with their firms, recognizing the value of continuous relationships in the B2B, because B2B business is like that only, right? So where the seller can be the advisor to the company, right? So that's where you find, right? Slowly I develop this, then the social bond among the customers, right? Where the customers will, they really promote your product, right? The word of mouth, right? One customer will promote the another one. So here, as the customer moves from level 1 to level 2, 3, 4, their loyalty or the liking of the company goes on increasing. Then there is every tendency or every possibility that I will retain the customers with me, or I can develop, the loyal customers, right? So that's what these levels, right? As the customer pass through level 1, level 2, level 3, right? Their bonding with the company goes on increasing. And lastly, it ends with the structural bonds, where the customer will become, they share the processes on the equipment. Again, this happens much more in, the B2B businesses, right? Right. Say, for example, you are a Bajaj who manufactures two wheelers. right? So here you will definitely outsource the fuel tank, and that fuel tank supplier might share the processes and the equipment, or even the Bajaj might share their processes and the equipments. Maybe you might find they involve in the technology or technical know-hows of their subcontractors or the suppliers, right? Maybe you might find there happen of the joint investments or integrated information systems to be developed, right? So that's where you find it, the retention strategies, and this is very, very crucial from the company's point of view. Hope you understood this. Then I think some of the challenges there. Maybe I can say that customer is right always, they say, but at times we need to say the customer is not always right, right? Customer is not always right, right? So that's what, right? Any server service worker can tell you, right? So that is the statement not always true, and in some cases it might be preferable for the firm and the customer to not to continue their relationships. Those are what have been they listed there, suggest, right, may not be beneficial for the company, and I will be ending it. Might be you might have entered the wrong segment, right? Some segments will be more appropriate than the others for you. It would not be beneficial to either company or the customer to establish, the relationship. Then might be, I have to end the relationships there. Or maybe some segments here we find they are not profitable in the long run. That I need to, the eliminate. Might be you find some customers are difficult customers, right? So very, very hard to manage for the managers or the front end, the executives, right? Where they may you have the the dysfunctional the customers. They are always they're troubleful to the company. That's the reason you just do that. Maybe because of that I end the relationships with the customers, right? So I need to decide when do I end, right? Maybe these relationships always end in a different ways. I think we all know that, depending on the type of the relationship that is in place, right? In some situations, this relationship is established for certain purpose and for certain time period, then dissolves when it's completed. Say, for example, we have they called a plumber for service. He will engage with you with 3 4 days. Once the work is over, so the relationship ends. But both the parties understand that the end of the relationship is predetermined here, right? The end occurs when the house is being, the work is being over, and customer has paid the fees or whatever the charges that they have been agreed. Right? And sometimes you find it, these relationships end naturally. Say, for example, you have joined for some music classes, right? So very often you find as the child gets older and develops the interest in other, the aspects of the life or the other disciplines or the subjects, and that music will become, the absolute. Might be in other situations an event may occur that forces to end the relationships, right? Here, say for example, a service provider, relocates to the other side of your city or shifted the location, may force some customers to select the different, the company. That's might happens, right? The service provider is not available in nearest my area, but I might have to put an extra efforts to reach out for the existing, the service provider. Maybe there it find natural ending. The last one you see there, right? Forced ending, right? So this also happens. Say for example, right? So maybe any financial services might decide to end the relationship with particular customer who regularly has an, insufficient funds. There's so many problems that's been creating for the bank, where the manager can decide. Where the manager can decide, okay, whether to fire him. Yeah, I can really, make him to go out of the firm, right? So last maybe we can ask, right, should the firm fire their customers? Yes, of course, that depends on your relationships and how good, how bad is the customer is with you, and who has made a the problem here, right? So you can always fire the customers. This is all about the relationship marketing. That's what we have seen so far. So as I told, this is the process that you know that from the first semesters you have been studying. That is the STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. I just refreshed this. I'm not going to discuss much on this because it's well known to you all, right? So many times you studied this concept. The process that you can see there, right? Step one, step two. I'll be identifying the basis for segmentation. Then I will develop, right? Maybe there are 6 segments. Then I'll decide which segment, I should be doing, the targeting. Then that segment is been positioned, right? So you select the market. Then once you divide the segments, then I develop the profiles for resulting, the segments. Then I do find out, right? Segment should be attractive enough for you to enter into that particular visible attractiveness. Both are there. Then I pick out of those a few segments as a targets. Then I position them. Then I do my marketing. Right? So that's what you can see.